There's a huge pressure these days to try to conform to everything, to try to fit in, to try to be liked by others, and to change ourselves to be liked by others. It used to be that this was just for the people, most directly involved in our lives, whether that was our friends, family, colleagues, and so on. But unfortunately, nowadays with social media, it almost feels like we're trying to change ourselves for everyone. We're trying to do the things that will garner the most positive reactions, while at the same time avoiding things that we feel might elicit negative reactions. And so it seems like there's this constant balance, this constant struggle to change who we are on the surface in order to create sort of the best response from the environment that we're in. And a lot of the times, most of us don't actually realize that's what we're doing, right? We don't realize that we're changing ourselves for others. But if that sort of a habit or behavior continues, then we actually end up losing a sense of who we really are. And that could ultimately lead to problems of stress, suffering, anxiety, depression, a feeling of emptiness in life. And you kind of get the picture. Now, I say these things not to cast a negative shadow or kind of a doom and gloom attitude, but more so to just bring some more awareness to why we do the things that we do. Why do we change ourselves for others? Why don't we instead accept who we are and be perfectly comfortable in our own skin? Yes, there is such a thing as peer pressure. There is a pressure to conform. That much is true. I certainly experienced this a lot during my younger years, whether that was in school or whether that was interacting with others, just trying to kind of create this perfect image of myself. In reality, there is no perfect image. Your imperfect image, or who you really are at your core, is the most closest you will ever get to perfection. But sadly, many of us don't realize this, or if we realize it, we don't actually fully embrace it. We may agree to it all right now when there's really no one else but us. But if we're, for example, talking to someone that we are attracted to and we want to develop a relationship with, then we might try to elaborate on certain things and kind of, you know, present a better picture than perhaps what's really there. You see this a lot in relationships, for example, especially the newer ones where the couple isn't really settled in, where one person, in order to, ingratiate themselves and to try to win their favor, will do changes that they probably wouldn't have done before, but now because their partner likes that, they're now making those changes. So, for example, if you had, blonde hair, for example, but your boyfriend likes, brunettes, then there may be sort of that indirect pressure or that temptation to change your hair color, to change your appearance in order to make that other person happy. Now, of course, these are some small changes, right? Changing a hair color is not as significant as changing your belief system or changing who you are as a person. But if you kind of let these small things build up into bigger ones, then you'll get to a point then where you don't really know how to set boundaries anymore. And that's kind of one of the main themes of this video is how to set those boundaries. Yes, it's okay to sometimes go out of our way, um, to help others, to bring the best out of others. But ultimately, is that going out of our way? Is that in alignment with who we are? And if the answer is no, then we have to really reevaluate whether that action is appropriate. A great way to kind of ask yourself this question is, if there was no other person on this earth today, would you be doing that action? And if the answer is no, then that's a pretty good indication that that's not aligned with who you really are. It takes time for us to be fully confident in ourselves. I certainly had a lot of challenges. I'm sure many of you who are watching have challenges. And, this is not meant to kind of brush over those challenges, but to ultimately recognize that these challenges, these imperfections, these things that we're trying to conceal and cover up, um, they're actually part of our beauty. They're part of who we are. And the more we try to resist it, the more tougher it becomes, the more harder it becomes to conceal it because we've just built up this false version of ourselves that isn't really who we are. So I want you to start doing the opposite. I want you to start telling yourself that I am worthy. I am beautiful. I am perfect. I am just who I need to be without all of the external noise, all of the external influence. And keep in mind, not a lot of this comes from the external. A lot of it comes from our perception of the external. Right? So it's not what others think of me. It's what I think others are thinking of me. Right? That's sometimes the hardest part is even if no one else is thinking something bad about us or doesn't say anything bad about us or wants us to change in any way, we might have something in our minds that gives us the sense that we need to change because that other person might be happy by it. And so it's important to kind of realize those two different dimensions. There's the element of others that we don't have that much control on, but we have a lot of control over our own thoughts. And I know that might sound not true for a lot of folks, but if you think about it, the more you are able to kind of turn your attention inward, the more you are able to be still and to be calm and to create kind of a silence, the more you're able to realize that your thoughts, the majority of them, will just come and go. There's really no substance to it. And in the beginning, a lot of us will just kind of rush towards our thoughts, right? They'll take us down a rabbit hole and we'll follow it till the end of the world. But over time, as you start to awaken, as you start to build your awareness, you realize that, a lot of these thoughts aren't serving you. They aren't helping you in any way. They're just, negative thoughts, repetitive thoughts that continue on and on and on, but there's not really any substance. And that's when you learn that, I'm not my thoughts. The famous analogy that I always use is, thoughts are like the river. And a lot of the times we find ourselves drowning in the river. We're not able to distinguish that we are separate from the river. But the person who has awakened or the person who has achieved some level of awareness, they will be able to step out of the river and watch it from a distance. They will be able to have some sort of a level of separation between themselves and the thoughts that they think, that they used to think, used to be who they are. And that's what I want all of us to do is to have that separation, have that distance, because ultimately, if you're not able to observe your thoughts objectively, if you're not able to realize that you are not your thoughts, then it'll be very difficult for you to stop that habit, to stop that pattern of changing yourself for others. It'll be very difficult for you to set healthy boundaries in your life. And it's so important for us to be able to learn how to navigate with other people. A lot of times people might think that this is selfish, but in reality, if you can't take care of yourself, you really can't take care of others, right? We all have probably been in an airplane and have heard, the flight attendants say that, in the case where the cabin loses pressure, put on the oxygen mask on yourself before you put it on for someone else, right? Because if you can't put it on for yourself, then that's two lives gone instead of one life gone. And again, I know that sounds very harsh and cold, but the reality of it is that our number one responsibility in life is to ourselves. If you want to make an impact in the world, if you want to make an impact to the lives of others, then you have to first make an impact in your own life. You have to first take care of your own self. If your own cup is not filled, how can you fill up another person's cup? So that's really what I ultimately want you guys to take away from this is that yes, it's okay to help others. Yes, it's okay to do things that you perhaps normally wouldn't do. But there comes a point where you have to draw a line and you have to ask yourself, am I changing who I am? Am I changing who I am? But more importantly, recognizing who am I to begin with? Because as long as you realize who you are at your core, you will always have that compass and you will be able to embrace that and realize that, this is who I really am at my core. I don't need to change my external layers because my inner layer, my inner self is always the same. So I hope you found this video helpful and informative. Please don't hesitate to reach out with any comments and questions. I certainly love creating a dialogue between all the different people that come to this channel and watch these videos. I think it really does help. These are timely topics. These are topics that I'm sure a lot of us are probably facing with right now. And it always helps, I think, the community as a whole when we're able to discuss it and share our own views and share our own experiences and ultimately grow and awaken together. So thank you guys for watching. I look forward to seeing you next time. And until then, take care.